18 months of silence, Squeeze just dropped his first video since disappearing, and you guys have been going absolutely crazy. But there's actually a very realistic chance that we might never see him get back behind the wheel again. And if you don't know why already, just grab something to eat and let me explain it to you. But before we start with what actually happened to Squeeze, let me just quickly address the rumors that the person shown in the reunion video isn't actually Squeeze, which is kinda hilarious to me. A ton of people are convinced that the person you can see in the video isn't actually the real Squeeze, that the real Squeeze never got arrested in the first place, and that it was just licensed the entire time. And look, I definitely get it. For the past year and a half, nobody really knew what was going on. The NYPD posted that one mugshot, said that they got him, and that's it. No more updates, no court appearances that we heard about, literally nothing. So of course people started to come up with their own theories. But yeah, now we finally have answers, because Squeeze himself just confirmed everything in his latest video. And honestly, what he had to say is way more interesting than any of the theories floating around. So now, here's what actually went down. First of all, Squeeze was locked up for 18 months, and he wasn't just sitting in one place either. He got moved around like crazy. First, he was at Rikers Island, which, if you know anything about New York's jail system, you know that this place is rough. Then they moved him to Essex County, then Hudson County, then Burlington County, and finally, he ended up at Yardsville Prison. And this brings up a question that's been all over the comments. Was 18 months too much of a charge? I mean, he was just 19 years old when it all happened. Still, they threw him in one of the worst jails in America and bounced him around almost every jail in the tri-state area for a year and a half. Some people see that and think the system went too hard on him, that they made an example out of him because of his social media following, that if he was just another kid without the Instagram clout, he would have gotten probation and community service. But then you've got the other side. This dude was running from cops on a weekly basis and posting it online, driving recklessly through some of the most crowded streets in America, putting people's lives at risk every single time he got behind the wheel. And that's just the street racing part. When you add in the ATM thefts, the pharmacy ring allegations, you're looking at someone who was allegedly involved in some serious crimes. So when you actually break it down like that, 18 months almost seems light, because realistically, with all those charges, with all that evidence he posted himself online, with the way he was basically daring cops to catch him, he could have gotten way worse. Now, what's really interesting though is how he's handling all this now that he's out.
It's been crazy these last 500 plus days being locked up. I was accused of ATM theft ring, pharmacy ring, the Squeeze Benz, of course, and that's why you guys are all here. So I'm just gonna leave it at this. If you guys want to believe in Squeeze Benz, you guys can believe in Squeeze Benz. I'm just gonna let you guys think what you want. My name is not Squeeze Benz, my name is Mr. Squeeze.
In his video, Squeeze plays it incredibly smart. He's creating distance between himself and the actual driving content. He's not confirming or denying anything, but leaving it up to interpretation. Whether that holds up in court or helps him legally, I have no idea. But it shows that those 18 months behind bars definitely changed something. He's thinking more carefully about what he says on camera, especially now that we got to see his face and identity. Watching that video and seeing him talk about his time in prison, about being locked in a cell 23 hours a day with his bunkie, about going from that to being in a Maybach worth over 200 grand, you can really tell it hit him different. He keeps saying how grateful he is, how unreal it feels, how he can't even put it into words. And for someone who built their entire brand on not caring about consequences, on being untouchable, that's a pretty significant shift in tone. And it genuinely makes me happy to finally have him back. However, there is something else we need to talk about that you might have noticed already. Where the hell was License? Squeeze is finally out, and everyone was there to show love, but License is nowhere to be seen. And look, I'm pretty confident to say that he was there, but he's clearly not trying to show his face right now, and that makes perfect sense when you think about everything that's happened recently. Because while Squeeze was locked up, the situation didn't just stay the same. The entire scene continued to grow with the new faces of the team, and so did the media attention and the risk of getting caught. License basically took over Squeeze's spot, and as someone with his reach, no mistake stays unnoticed, no matter how good you try to hide it. And for a couple of months, it all was going pretty smooth for him. He was cutting up and doing countless collabs with different YouTubers that helped him to reach even more people. However, that streak of luck wouldn't last very long. It started with the Times Square incident, where multiple cops were going for him. And now, there's also this one video that shows him crashing into the rear of a Tesla. These are the kind of mistakes that the cops are waiting for, and License knows that too. So that's most likely the reason he's holding it back right now. He saw Squeeze get arrested, watched him disappear for a year and a half, and he's smart enough to know that putting himself out there right now, being associated with all this content again, is not the right move. Plus, think about it from his perspective. Squeeze already took the hit, already has his face attached to mugshots and news articles. License doesn't. He's still relatively low-key in comparison. So why blow that up now by appearing in a video that's guaranteed to end up on the NYPD's radar immediately? I'm sure we'll see more of him again once the heat dies down a bit. Possibly even a collab between him and the new Mr. Squeeze. But now, let's get to the part you all have been waiting for. Will Squeeze ever get back behind the wheel again, doing what he is known for? And here's where things get complicated, because as we saw in the video, Squeeze showed that he has a tracker on his ankle, which means he's on probation with serious restrictions. The kind of restrictions that definitely don't include cutting up or running from cops while filming it for YouTube. He can't leave certain areas without permission. They know where he is at all times. If anything happens that violates his probation, he goes straight back to prison. So realistically, if we're looking at this logically, the old content is most likely done, at least while he's being monitored like this. However, Squeeze isn't dumb. He knows he's sitting on a massive following. There are millions of people who know his name and want to see what he does next. That's an audience most creators would kill for. So if he's smart, he pivots and uses that platform for something that doesn't involve catching felonies. Maybe he brings license for content that doesn't include running from troopers. Maybe he gets into car builds or goes to car meets. Does the whole influencer thing, but legal this time. He could turn that brand into something legitimate. There's definitely a way to capitalize on everything he built without destroying his life in the process. And from a pure business perspective, that's probably what he should do. But there's this one thing about Squeeze that makes the whole situation so unpredictable. The reason he blew up in the first place wasn't because he played it safe. It wasn't because he made smart decisions or thought about long-term consequences. It was because he looked at the rules and decided they didn't apply to him. From everything we've seen in his first video back, I'm not convinced that mentality has drastically changed. Sure, he's saying the right things, talking about being grateful, about how crazy it is to be out again, about how unreal everything feels. But then, in the same breath, he's already flexing $100,000 cars, talking about bigger and better things to come, telling everyone to stay tuned because something's about to happen. That really doesn't sound like someone who's planning to lay low. And here's my opinion on this. I think Squeeze is going to try to stay just legal enough to not violate his probation, but still create content that has that same energy and that same feeling that made people watch in the first place. Maybe he won't be the one driving. Maybe he'll film other people doing it. Or maybe, and this is what I think might happen, he just won't care. He'll wait a few months, let things cool down, and then start pushing it again. So will he get back behind the wheel? Officially, probably not anytime soon, but we will definitely see content that's just as crazy and entertaining as the old stuff. But for now, let's just wait and see what the future brings.